Hey everybody, Ben here with another Clover Tip of the Month video. On today's episode, we're going to cover a scenario where a merchant has one device, one stock receipt printer, and one kitchen printer. This is going to be huge for any bar that has one device that's trying to make the most of it, or even smaller coffee shops. The first part of this setup is actually really easy. More than likely, they already have their receipt printer hooked up, and that's actually all you need to do on this end. For the second part of the setup, you'll just need to plug the kitchen printer into an Ethernet port. Ideally, this is going into a router or a modem, and then you'll go ahead and plug in the power cable as well. When those two components are already taken care of, the next step is to get in front of your Clover device, and you're going to look for the Printers app. Once the Printers app is pulled up, you'll notice we don't have anything added as an order printer yet. We're going to use this green plus button here to do so. We're going to select Order Printer, and we're going to choose the image that looks identical to the stock receipt printer. You'll now notice that it's showing online. We've got this one set up. We just got to add that secondary kitchen printer, which is sitting on our deployment counter. To do so, we're going to do the same exact steps. Green plus button, Order Printer, and this time we're going to select that actual kitchen printer, which happens to be a TSP100. You'll now notice that you have your devices active on the device. It's always good to do a test print. To do so, you'll select the printer and you'll notice a test print option. So if I were to hit this, we get the test notice here, which means we're good to go. We would ideally do this with the kitchen printer as well, but we've gone ahead of the curve and gotten that done. The next step is to actually close out of the Printers app, and we're gonna go ahead and go over to the Inventory app. In the inventory, we're going to go ahead and select the labels here on the left-hand bar. The labels are going to be what routes your order. And so as you can see, we've already pre-created a bar for the drinks and a kitchen label for the food items. For you to add one, you're just going to simply select the plus button and you're going to name your label. The next step is to actually create the labels. An example of one could be something like your, whiskey drinks. So if we go in and we label this, we can hit done. This actually saves the label and allows us to add items now. You have two options when it comes to adding items to a label. You can either create brand new ones using the plus button. If you've already built your menu or uploaded it, you can also use the edit function here to then just simply add from the existing items. Once you have the items added to the label, the next step is to choose when that order printer will print. To do so, hit the home button, and we're going to actually look for the Setup app this time. Within the Setup app, you're going to locate the Order Receipt and Sticky Labels tab. And there's a setting that we're going to go ahead and adjust, and that setting is going to be called How Will Order Receipts Be Printed and Register? Once this is open, the first thing that you'll want to do is to change this option here from all items to only items with printer labels. This is what will allow the system to utilize those created labels to route the order correctly. Once this is set, you'll want to scroll down, and you have a couple different options on the firing method. Most merchants prefer the pay or saved option, which will allow them to either save it, fire it, and then have the customer pay later. Or if they're paying at the counter, the pay button would also then trigger the receipt. The last step that we'll have to do is to simply add the labels to the printer. So we're actually going to head back to the Printers app. We're going to click on the first order printer, which happens to be our stock one. And we're going to make sure that the bar tab or bar box is checked on because we want this receipt printer responsible for the drinks we've added. You'll want to do the same exact thing for the secondary kitchen printer, which happens to be our TSP. We're going to open that. And for this one, we want the food to print there. So we're going to make sure our kitchen label is checked on. Once all of that is saved, you're ready to rock and roll. It's time to actually run a transaction and see the orders be routed correctly. To do so, you'll open up the Register app and you'll build a ticket per usual. We'll go in and we're going to start with a beverage. We're going to do Starbucks coffee and even a juice box. We're going to move to the lunch category and we're going to add one food item here. We'll make our selections on the modifiers and we'll hit the done button. You'll notice now we have our ticket built. We can either hit save or pay to trigger that receipt. I'm going to go ahead and utilize the save option. And now you'll notice that our drink printer has printed out those two beverages for us. And if we head over to our kitchen printer, which is set up on the deployment counter, we'll be able to locate the food items as well. As we can see, the printer is actually placed away from the device, which makes a ton of sense for a kitchen setup. The cooks at this point would be able to grab the ticket. They'll be able to see those food items. They'll be able to see those modifiers and begin working on the order. Now that we've gotten through that, you should be rocking and rolling with your kitchen printers. But as always, there are a couple things to keep in mind if it doesn't work out. Number one, make sure the printer and the device are hooked up to the same network. Number two, make sure that your labels are properly assigned, and always double check the printing methods in the setup app to make sure it's set to trigger correctly. Outside of that, if you need any further assistance, be sure to call 855-999-4142. Thank you. We'll see you in the next one.